for Tuesday, May 4th, 2021. Has appropriate meeting notification been made?
Yes, Your Honor, it has.
If you could all please rise and state the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Call roll, please.
Alderman Spiegelberg,
Here.
Alderman Mulder,
Here.
Alderman Shellpepper,
Here.
Alderman Kavieski,
Here.
Alderman Rogers, Alderman Rozak,
Here.
Alderman Zaffel,
Here.
Alderman Ellis.
Here.
I'd like to entertain a motion for approval of minutes for April 6th, 2021.
So move, Zaffel.
Rozak, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I would like to make a request of council without objection to move item 9A to this position, which is going to be the Life Saving Awards and Chief Bowen. Do we have any objection to moving that on the agenda? Chief Bowen, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mayor, members of the Common Council, as well as our community here in Oconomowoc, it's truly my honor and privilege to be here tonight to recognize the efforts of the city's EMS, fire, police, and the dispatchers at Oconomowoc Police and WCC for their efforts in successfully saving the life of a city resident. It's not every day that we get to come before you and provide you with this information that we were able to bring one of our residents back to life, who's with us tonight as well. The national resuscitation is less than 10%, but we're fortunate to have a good public safety team here in the community that works together, and we can make a difference for our residents. So improving survivability is a team effort, and I'm very proud of the partnership that we have with all of the links in the chain of survival, and that's our dispatchers, that's our police, that's our fire, that's our EMS, our hospital systems, and we truly are blessed. So without further ado, back on December 15th of 2020, the chain of survival in the city of Oconomowoc worked, and it worked well. Dispatch, early CPR, defibrillation, advanced life support, and post-cardiac arrest care, as well as a local hospital, aided in the efforts of bringing one of our residents back with us today. At 6:44 p.m. on December 15th, City of Oconomowoc Police and Western Lakes Fire District responded to a man that had collapsed in his dining room and was unresponsive without a pulse. Oconomowoc Police Department responded first. They were able to arrive on scene, begin CPR. They had their AEDs. Last year, we were fortunate to receive a couple of donated AEDs that were in our police cars and our first response fire units. EMS and fire arrived shortly thereafter. Continued CPR, advanced cardiac life support efforts were initiated. A total of 2 defibrillation treatments were provided by the care providers, as well as medications, epinephrine, amiodarone, IVs were established. While the crews worked for 20 minutes to save one of our residents, suddenly we had a pulse back, and we had a blood pressure. That was a successful start to the efforts there. The team packaged the patient, brought them to a local hospital where the physicians and the nurses were able to provide ongoing care. And after a short period at the hospital, the individual was discharged home with his family. As I said, I'm honored, and it's truly a privilege to recognize the team members that were at that incident that day. Unfortunately, not everybody could be here. Some of them are out patrolling the streets today. Others had other work obligations. But I would like to recognize again the dispatchers. They're the ones that take the first call, provide over-the-phone CPR instructions. Our police officers, Sergeant Wheeler, who had retired, Adam Germanis, as well as Tom Dammer, responded to that incident. From Western Lakes Fire District, Deputy Chief Adam May, Captain Brad Kraut, Captain Tim Cassens, Lieutenant Rick Cron, Fire Medic Steve Bolt, Fire Medic Ben Castern, Firefighter EMT Maggie Ross, Firefighter Zach Schneider, Firefighter EMT Lou Morgan, and actually the district's medical director was in the area and responded to the scene as well, Dr. Chuck Cady. This is the majority of your team. Not everybody, like I said, would be present that responded. But most importantly, and the reason that we're here today, is I am ecstatically proud to introduce Mr. Fred Radke and his wonderful wife, Marie, who are also here today. And thank you for your time.
My turn? Good. Well, I just wrote a little something special. No, 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 no. Please come back. This is for you guys. This isn't for them, just so you know.
Fred's well taken care of.
I do. Did you know the person you saved is my best friend? Did you know the person you saved is a grandpa to 8, a father to 3, and a stepdad to 1? Did you know the person you saved is a son to a mom who is still with us in her 80s? Did you know the person you saved is a person who is kind, loving, sweet, an exceptional person who would help anyone in need, the kindest, thoughtful, caring, understanding person you will ever meet in your lifetime? Did you know the person you saved is beyond thankful to all of you, appreciates your service to others, and will forever be in your debt? I do. He's my husband, the man you saved on December 15th. God bless you, keep you safe, and know that you are cherished and loved. Thank you.
Thank you all, and wow, what a beautiful story with a wonderful outcome. Sir, we're glad you're here to be with us. Yeah.
Thank you again. Absolutely.
Doing.
Wow, it's hard to follow something like that.
Wow.
Motion
No.
to adjourn?
You have a motion to adjourn?
Yeah, let me tell you, that's for sure. It's, you know, we work so hard. You guys, this whole council, our whole staff work hard to keep people safe and to try to create opportunities. And it's wonderful to celebrate things like we just saw and heard today. All those folks that are working so hard for us and trying to keep us healthy and safe. So it takes a whole community, they say, to raise a child, but I think it takes a phenomenal council and city staff to keep this city really running and do the right things going forward. So my hat is all off to you. So congratulations. On to comments and suggestions from citizens. So we have about 4 or 5 comments. When you come up to the podium, I'll call your name. Please repeat your name and your street address and where you live. The first item up is Barbara Dietrich.
Well, hello, City Council. Good to be here. I'm your state representative for those who haven't met me in person. John's my internet buddy. So I'm reaching out to you today not only as your constituent, but also as your colleague on the state level, because I know you're going to talk about entering this class action suit on PFAS tonight. And I just want to update all of you, in case you aren't up to speed on it, how vigorously we've been working on water quality on the state level. And I want to encourage you all to keep in touch with my office. In addition to the state DNR, regarding water quality issues. I've emailed a packet to the mayor that all of you will get via email. And it not only covers PFAS bills we've had regarding cleanup, the governor's executive order to basically create a council to explore the impact on the state. You know, it's a hot topic everywhere right now because this chemical is everywhere, and really getting our arms around what the science really is on it, how much is too much, and mitigation strategies. And of course, we all want good water quality in the state, and especially in the Lake Country area here. I will tell you that in case you haven't watched, we do have issues already in Oconomowoc with the lawsuit going on with Leatherrich, so you might want to bring yourself up to speed on that. Because there needs to be balance in this as well, okay? And what I mean by that is we want to be careful, but we also want to be mindful of not being so unreasonably aggressive with mitigation strategies. So please work with the state on it. Please bring yourselves up to speed on the issue. And our other recommendations from the Water Quality Task Force will be in this packet you receive. And thanks for keeping Oconomowoc a great place to live, work, and raise a family. I appreciate all you do. If you have any questions, you all know where to find me.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
Rachel Noon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Rochelle Noon. I live in 231 North Fowler Street here in Oconomowoc, and I'm here just to speak
If you
on-
could move into the microphone. Thank you, Rochelle.
I'll try not to repeat my speech from 2019 when I was here the last time, but I'm speaking in support of keeping dispatch here in the city of Oconomowoc. Community communication. They are a strong support not only with the citizens. We pushed to keep the dispatch center here, a brand new big facility, modernized, full of wonderful IT work by our IT guy back there, keeping communications and the screens all together. They do a tremendous job for our community. Well, I know I've talked to a couple of people, different citizens, that still do not understand why they want to keep getting rid of dispatch. One of the comments, not very nice, was, what's the kickback for those who support transferring dispatch to WCC? I'm like, not sure if there is any, but okay. But the citizens spoke strongly in support of keeping dispatch in and with our city. With our continued growth and revitalization, our dispatch center would be a huge benefit to the new citizens coming into Oconomowoc. They've got a huge knowledge of the background and the working areas of every aspect of our city. They're able to point out different things, not knocking WCC at all, but I think Oconomowoc is a better city for having its own dispatch center. It's something unique to the area. I know a lot of areas have tried to they went to WCC, and that's absolutely fine for them. I've been listening to the dispatch channel on WCC, which has been shut down for our area. I'm not quite sure why. That was concerning to me. Everybody that I've talked to that had given me the link was not sure why it's shut down either, so not sure if that ties in. But basically, dispatchers, as their profession, have a stressful enough job dealing with everything from life to death, as you just heard from the stories from the firemen before. But they've been hit harder, I think, these last couple of years, not only with the COVID thing, but the stress of the pandemic. They've got the recent shooting at Oconomowoc Roundy's Center, and now this is like the third year that they're threatening their jobs to be gone. These are, and with all due respect, they're not 25-year-olds that can start a new career over. They have given their life. They have given their heart. They have given their service to not only our police department, but also to our community. They have worked with the community, and our dispatchers are more than just a voice on the radio. Our dispatchers are voices and a sense of community and continuity with the officers and the citizens they've worked in. I've been lucky enough to be employed as a dispatch person, so I was lucky enough to be trained by two of the finest, and they have my ultimate respect and admiration. I firmly believe they have with their combined service, it's got to be over 50 years of service to this community. And to have them booted out now at the prime of their career, I just think is unfair. And I think the $32,500 could be invested in our community in a different and better way, and keeping Oconomowoc Dispatch with our police department. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. William Pankoff.
My name is William Pankop, live at 1455 Riverdale Drive. I also would like to vote to keep our dispatch services here local in Oconomowoc. We have, I think, I'm not saying that the Waukesha would not do it well, but in the last 3 years, this is going to be the third time this has been addressed. Or why can't we listen the last 2 times the people of the city of Oconomowoc have overwhelmingly asked to keep everything here in Oconomowoc? Are we listening to the people? This is not the city making these decisions, but apparently it sounds like they are. They're not listening because now we're going to try to do another study, which it's already been said that the people of Oconomowoc want to keep it here. Why can't we just do so? If we're looking at the best overall option for the city, taking into account the cost, quality, and level of service, nothing is said about what the people want. Don't ignore the people. We put you in office, you speak for us, and we happily will go along with that. Just don't go against what we want. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike Beatty.
Mike Beatty, 1048 Saratoga Court. I appreciate everything these people have said. I appreciate all the work you guys do. There's nothing easy, I understand that. I was here, I think it was 2 years ago when the meeting ran till like 1 or 2 in the morning. I guess my only question is, anybody can pack a meeting for or against. Has there been any talk, or, and I don't know if you can, maybe this is a question for the attorney, have you thought about putting it out as a referendum vote? If it's out there, then you guys have your direction and you know, I mean, I don't mean this as a bad way, but it kind of covers everybody's butt here, you know, of we did the referendum, this is what it said, and you guys can go in the direction that the rest of the referendum vote says. So just a comment, I don't know enough about it, so I just thought I'd brought it up. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I do not have any more blue cards. Is there anyone else that would like to make a public statement or comment? Okay, at this time, we'll close this section and move on to consent. Oh,
We have one.
I'm sorry, I didn't see you, sir. Come on up. If you could please state your name and your address, please, sir.
Dennis Pip, 905 Lapham. After the war, I moved out here in 1970. Been out here 51 years. When I moved out here, the sign, the other east side of town said 6280. Now the city is well above 16,000. And I feel that what you're taking away from us, or you want to take away from us, is a very integral part of what is our safety out here. These people that are on doing the dispatching aren't sitting in that office with their feet up on the council eating popcorn and drinking Diet Cokes. That is an extremely intensified job. They have to make decisions that nobody in here would like to make. They have to send our boys and women in the blue out in harm's way. they have to make a decision that what they're doing may be a target risk, excuse me, target risk environment. And there's nobody who wants to send somebody out and end up having them injured or killed. Now, I don't understand why we're having this discussion for the third time. It was knocked down twice, and if I'm not mistaken, it was put down with a, what do they call it? Whatever it was, we voted on it and they put it down. Now, the way this seems to me here, and allowing this to keep coming back up and coming back up, I consider you people well into the city, and you mean well by it, but by what you're showing me, I'd almost think this was the school board. When they want something, they whine and they cry, and if they don't get it, then they bring it out and say, well, this is for the kids. They don't get it with that. They have, I can't think of the name of what they have. They have referendums. Referendum after referendum, until the people get so upset with it, they don't bother, and then it gets passed. Now, this third time, there's no reason. Spend $32,000 to have some money going across somebody's palm. A lot of those Ben Franklins from that WCC trying to get us to come back into his fold there and dump a big sum and then end up paying his service fee plus anything else he's going to stick in your ear. And there's no way to get out of it. Once you dump the I can't think. Once you dump the dispatchers, that's a foot in the door. Next thing you know, it's going to be, well, we can get rid of the police department. And you see what happening all over the United States, people trying to defund and get rid of the cops. Now, this beautiful community out here, I moved out here from West Dallas, which was a western suburb of Milwaukee, and it was fairly nice when I grew up. When I came back, it wasn't so nice. And the stuff that was happening in the city made up my mind to where I'd like to live. My children grew up out here, and I never worried this much about them playing somewhere or my bride having problems at home because some rum-dum was trying to break in or doing whatever. I never thought of that. I had a good heart about this community. And this is starting to tear me apart inside. I don't understand why we're spending $32,000. But what I had heard on the original first shot at this, it was putting $5 a person on the tax rolls, an extra $5. And whoever brought it up wanted to save his constituents the $5. But all the people said, hey, we don't mind, little safety. What is the $5 really amount to? A cup of coffee at Starbucks, a mixed drink at pub or wherever you go. That's what it is for a year, $5. And now we want to spend $32,000. And if you divide it by the 16,000 people who live here, and they're not all taxpayers, that comes out to $2 more on the taxes. So I think that either you aren't listening to what the people are saying, or if you are listening, you've got your agendas and you don't give two hoots and hell. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further comments from the audience? Let's move on then to consent agenda items. Resolution 21-R29944, granting a 6-month Class B license to RNS Hospitality. Entertain a motion.
So moved. Lou?
Second, Ellis.
All in favor?
Aye.
On to committee reports, protection, welfare. First item up. Consider and act on Resolution 21-R2948, granting new Class B intoxicating liquor fermented malt beverage license to Preservance Corporation, or otherwise known as the Badger Burger Company. I'd entertain a motion.
So moved, Zaffel.
Any further discussion?
I would just like to make a brief comment, Mayor, on this one.
Yes, go ahead.
This was a move the council made, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago to get these liquor licenses back from Pabst Farms that were holding the 4 city licenses. Push for the state to grant them these 8 special licenses that they could use in that TIF district. This is an example of something that the council really pushed hard on. Stan was instrumental as well in pushing hard on this, and we were able to get those licenses. This is not one of the regular licenses. This is 8 specials that are only held for that TIF kind of district out there in Pabst Farm. So this is a big deal. This is exactly what we wanted to happen out there eventually.
Alderman Ellis,
And I believe you started that, Matt, and I thank you for it.
any further discussion? Call roll, please.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Mulder.
Aye.
Alderman Shellpepper.
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski.
Aye.
Alderman Rozak.
Aye.
Alderman Zaffel.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
On to our next agenda item, consider act on Resolution 21-R2949, awarding contract for police dispatch study and related budget amendment.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor and Alderman. Just as a quick recap to the Protection and Welfare Committee meeting, you all have the memo and the background information here. This was an item that was brought up at the budget, around budget time last year, to look at conducting a dispatch study on whether to continue to have the services in-house with the city at the Public Safety Building, or to look at possibly moving it to Waukesha County Dispatch Services. So staff did go out and sought bids through the RFP process to conduct this study. We had received 5 bids in total from 5 firms that take on these services. 3 of those met the qualifications, so those were the ones that we moved forward with and opened the cost envelopes on. Unfortunately, all 3 were above what was budgeted, which was $20,000 in the budget for this year. And they were all qualified to do it. Of the 3, the one that rose to the top due to the lowest of the 3 was Matrix Consulting for $32,500. We are still recommending to move forward with the study. However, the additional $12,500 would require a budget amendment through the contingency funds in the 2021 budget. So with that.
I'd like to entertain any comments or questions for Mr. Trebetuski, our city administrator.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution with the budget amendment.
Second.
I'm sorry, who made the second?
Lou?
That's okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Alderman Spiegelberg.
Okay, thanks, Mayor. I'd like to start this discussion with a reminder that we're here tonight to determine whether or not we need an independent study at this time weighing local dispatch with WCC. We're not actually here tonight to make the decision to stay or go. We're here to make the decision on whether or not we do this independent study at this time. To that end, it would be prudent and fiscally irresponsible for us to do this study at this time. And here are some facts as support. Facts. Our citizens want to keep dispatch local. We represent them and not our own agendas. They have spoken loud and clear over and over again. They and our officers understand the pros and the cons, but they understand that the pros have far outweighed any cons at this point. A little bit of history for some of the newer aldermen. We voted unanimously in 2018 to keep dispatch local because of the citizens that we represent and the unique nature of this community. In November of 2019, after a comprehensive presentation by WCC, the majority of us were still not convinced at that time that we should go to WCC. A few of the concerns that were voiced at that time, and there were many, we are the only municipality within Waukesha County that has their own electric utility. WCC fully admitted that they had no idea yet how they could handle us given that. The turnover at WCC is much higher than keeping our dispatch local. Our dispatchers know our streets, our people, unique situations that they've dealt with, and there's an incredible intangible relationship between having local dispatchers for our police force. WCC also said that they would take our dispatchers on and find employment for them, and we found that to be false. Most businesses in Oconomowoc still use landlines, and those go directly to our dispatchers. A couple examples of that recently. The initial call from Roundy's came to our local dispatch on landline. Had that come from a cell phone, gone to WCC and bounced back, we may have lost more lives in that situation. Another situation, there was an attempted homicide on February 28th. Our police, that was also a landline, that came to our dispatchers, and our police were on the scene within 2 minutes because they were out in the field, they got the call, they were on the scene within 2 minutes to save that situation. So many other reasons, voices of reason, concerns. We're a unique community, and once we lose dispatch, we lose it for good. Another fact, at the meeting after we voted, that was November of 2019, we also informally assured our citizens that we would not be revisiting this topic for 4 to 5 years, and now here we are again. I think that any council member who was not on council at the time should have watched that meeting and done their due diligence to come here tonight and make a good decision on whether or not we do this study at this time. Another fact, we have invested in state-of-the-art dispatch equipment at a cost of almost $500,000, and we have infrastructure to support it. Again, assuring our community that we are in support of a local dispatch at least for the next few years. Every alderman had an opportunity to sit down and dispatch and see how they operate. Every alderman had an opportunity to go out in the field and do a ride-along. I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus, but I know that only 4 aldermen took that opportunity. I think that also should have been a part of the due diligence that we bring tonight to decide on whether or not we do this study at this time. I'll wrap this up. Another fact, it was originally thought that $10,000 to $15,000 would maybe cover this study. The budget amount was $20,000. And even though that went through, I was not in support of doing a study. We're now asking our citizens to spend $32,500 of their money that they don't want to spend. That's 62.5% above that $20,000 budgeted amount. Another fact, let's talk more dollars. If we go to WCC anytime within the next 4 years, we lose hundreds and thousands of dollars in breach of contracts that we have with communication companies, equipment devaluation. Our equipment was designed specifically for our dispatch. The resale of that would bring very few dollars. Buy-in to go to WCC, $175,000. Some of the other costs come to AT&T, $111,000 through the 5 years of the signed contract. We still have 4.5 years left on that. Radio provider, General Communications. Equipment cost already invested of $120,000, and service agreements at approximately $25,000 for the next 4 years that we've already committed to. Another $25,000 for a recording system from Nelson Systems, 5-year contract that we have with Nelson Systems. So all that said, and based on those facts, this is my proposal, that we don't do this study at this time, that we vote to be fiscally responsible with the taxpayers' money, not incurring the cost of a study and also not wasting the taxpayers' money in breached contracts and diminished value of selling our dispatch equipment. I would look to support to doing a study in another 4 years. However, when our contracts are up and our dispatch software may need updating, that also gives us time to see if potentially the landscape of the community changes. Maybe less landlines are used. But for now, doing this study would be highly imprudent and highly costly. It would be more costly for us to do this study now, jump off and go to WCC than keeping what we have now.
Any other comments? Alderman Rozak.
Well, Karen, the first point, the only point I actually agreed with you was the first point, which is that this was about whether we're going to do the study, not rehashing the entire debate about the dispatch. So what about the study? I don't think it would be fiscally imprudent because right now, every year we have our independent dispatch and it costs between $609,000 and $645,000 a year. So just the extra amount we will have to spend in this budget amendment is only 1% of 2 years of that cost. This is something the council voted on in the budget, I think unanimously, because nobody tried to pull it out. And it was actually the first time the budget had ever been voted on unanimously since I've been on, mostly because I usually vote against it. And we did put 20,000 in. I think it was just a placeholder. But what about doing the study? Why is it important we do the study? Well, first of all, it's funny that people want to be fiscally conservative, but only on the issue they think is important to be fiscally conservative on. I was the only one that spoke out against the strategic plan, which we just spent $6,000 on, so that we could sit around and listen to music being played and put posties on a board. So I think in the grand scheme of spending money, this is a good spend right now. It's also something that'll actually put to bed, I think, this issue. We did not have an independent study before. We had 2 skewed studies or skewed presentations, one from our kind of dispatch city side and one from WCC. And what we wanted, and what I think the council's direction was at the last budget cycle was, let's get a third party in to look at this. And the group that's in their packet today, Matrix, they're an independent third party. They have no real connection to Oconomowoc. They're not from around here. They're not former dispatchers in one place or the other. They're gonna come and give their honest opinion, and they're gonna take into consideration all of your other points, which there is an exact opposite argument to. And that's why we want a third-party independent study that can actually truly come in and show us the pros and cons and give us a fair assessment of where we want to be. Again, last year our dispatch, just the dispatcher budget was $604,000. While there is a buy-in, every year we spend $600,000 or more. In 2019, that was $645,000, not to mention all the costs of the equipment and contracts there. It's ironic that we're here and that people don't want to look at something again. I think it's important for us to always look at things again if it's critical, if it gives us a chance to really fairly address and fairly assess these items. And I think that's what the third-party study will do. And it doesn't just kick the can further down the road, and it doesn't come into another budget cycle again. Because you know what? We actually need a supermajority tonight for this vote. We don't need a supermajority to pull dispatch out in the budget cycle every year. But if we do a third-party study, we have an independent group come in and give us their fair evaluation, I think that's the right thing to do. The only other thing I'll say is I disagree vehemently with the concept that the people spoke. We have situations all the time in this council where people pack. They put 20, 30 people in and it seems like it's a full house. But we represent 17,000 people, not just the 30 or 40 people that show up, and not just the 300 or 400 people that are on a Facebook post or Facebook page. We represent all of those people. And the people I talk to, once I tell them what we spend independently on dispatch, they're amazed and shocked that we're still in our own dispatch. So with that being said, look, we spent a lot of staff time. I spent a lot of time also working on the RFP. Our staff put a lot of effort into doing this because that was the direction council gave them to do 6 months ago, and I think we should continue down that road and try to put this thing to bed.
Alderman Mulder.
Thanks to both of you. And I always feel like I'm playing catch up on this since I wasn't here 2 years ago. And I had a question for Mr. Chebekowski, because you guys voted before I get that out. When we wrote the RFP, one of the things that we inserted in there was that the consultants come and provide the council, prior to their recommendation, an overall presentation of what best class dispatch looks like. And so that we can, as a council, come to an agreement on what the key features of dispatch should be. And I mentioned earlier that I was thinking about emotional. It's not really about emotional. It's about having something that we can all objectively look at, because in the end, it is a subjective vote, right? Is it the citizens have spoken, or is it 17 people? We're all going to see it the way we want to see it. I don't understand dispatch to the level to be able to make a decision without having that kind of input from them. And I didn't see that in here, but I want to make sure that whatever comes out of this is, I want to make sure that that is part of this, that it is not just they come one time and give us the recommendation, but they inform us and educate us. And I've thought long and hard about this, and I just want to say publicly that I'm voting tonight on whether or not we move forward with this, without regard to how I might future vote on whether dispatch stays here or dispatch goes to WCC. So I'm looking at that as a single vote tonight, not a referendum from this seat on what we'll do in the future.
Alderman Kavieski.
As it applies to the financial statements that Alderman Spiegelberg was mentioning, you did mention that there is a one-time brick and mortar buy-in. That brick and mortar buy-in goes up every year based on the value of our community, is not going down. That'll be a continued burden on the taxpayer when and if we do decide that it's in the best interest of our community to go to WCC. That is a cost that should be considered by this council, by this community. And you talked about timing. Again, timing is every year that goes by, that cost goes up. So I am also very much in favor of this study. It is a study. It is not a final determination on a direction away from local dispatch and to WCC, but it provides an independent document full of information that not only this council, but the community then can have in front of it to say what is in the best interest for their public safety, for our public safety, my kids, your kids, and your family, to infer that this council would not listen to the community and act in personal agendas, I think is unfair. Because we all live here. We all live here. I have 4 kids. I have a wife. My in-laws live down the street. I'm not going to vote on something that's going to put me or them in peril, just like I won't for you. But I think it is in our best interest as a community and as a council to have that information in front of us to provide an educated vote. And that is what I feel this study will provide, not just this council, but to the community. So for all of those reasons and a variety of others as we come up through this debate, I'm very much in support of this.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
I don't agree that you guys are saying that you're not respecting the citizens and how they feel. Our citizens are intelligent and well-informed people. They understand the pros and cons of having a local dispatch, and they want it to stay here for a variety of reasons. We could go on and on with the facts. I wasn't going to get into a lot of this, but we talked at these other meetings about other communities that went to WCC and why. New Berlin, it was only cost. They wanted to stay with their local dispatch, but their dispatch department and infrastructure was so old, obsolete, and dilapidated, it would have cost them well over $1 million to even bring things up. So they went to WCC. I talked to McGuanago again today, and I could give you a litany of reasons and examples of why it's better for them to keep their dispatch local. I think we need to listen to our citizens. Here's the thing. I'm telling you, I'm not saying not to do a study, but why are we doing it now? We made a decision in November of 2019 that we were going to keep our dispatch, install the equipment, all the infrastructure around that with the new public safety building, and now we're going to do a study and say we're going to potentially rip that apart within a year? So we do the study now, and what if for some reason there's some decision, oh yeah, you know, we go to WCC? What does that mean? It means we're ripping everything out of what we've done now, including breaching hundreds of thousands of dollars in contracts that we have with communications companies for a 5-year period that started when we went to dispatch over a 5-year period. There's very little resale on custom dispatch equipment. You can ask Chief Pfister on that. So if we do a study and it says, yeah, you know, we think, you know, maybe in some shape or form it would be beneficial to go to WCC, all that money is lost. We spent all that money, all that taxpayer money, and that's lost. It's down the toilet. Equipment, breached contracts, all down the toilet. Are you kidding me? I'm trying to say, I don't think we shouldn't. I think we should do a study, but not at this time. Let's let our contracts run. Let's let our dispatchers settle in over there. They've never had a chance to settle in over there. They're always on pins and needles. Let's do this study in 4 years when the contracts are running out and the dispatch equipment and the software is potentially becoming obsolete. Why are we doing it now? There's a great cost to all of us and our taxpayers that we answer to. We answer to them, not to ourselves, in doing this study now and potentially jumping off to WCC in the next year.
Alderman Zapfel.
Appreciate all our constituents that came out to speak on this issue tonight. I appreciate members of the council speaking on this issue tonight. I today spent some time watching, I think it was November 6, 2019, watched that meeting. I went along on a ride along. I sat at dispatch, went to WCC. But this was in our budget this past year for 2021. Been trying to keep an open mind on this issue. Mr. Trepetowski, has there been a study on this previously? An independent study?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Attorney Riffle, if we were to move forward on this study tonight, and then we were to decide what we get back from the study, would we be able to go to the community for a referendum if we were to move forward on the study?
You can always go to the community for either a binding referendum under 9.09 with stats or a advisory referendum. 9.19, I believe. Sorry.
Thank you.
Alderman Shellpepper.
Yeah, my question was for Mr. Trepetowski as well, referring to Alderman Spiegelberg's comments on the broken contracts, the resale equipment, the value of the resale equipment. Is that all going to be factored into the RFP? All those costs that could be incurred because of a switch?
Yes.
Okay, so it's going to be addressed. We're going to get objective information pertaining to it.
Yeah. I mean, we had added quite a bit related to what the current technology is, and I'd have to look back in exactly what the RFP was, but we did know that there was a cost in, you know, the loss of the equipment.
Right.
Again,
So I think my point is these factors are going to be considered. It's important that we have these factors considered by a neutral third party. And then we're presented with objective, quantifiable data. I think that's the best way to go forward, factoring in both the tangibles and intangibles. I think all of that information is going to be heavily scrutinized and analyzed by this third party, and then the information will be presented to us. And I think that is the best way to go forward for the community and for the council.
Alderman Ellis. Yeah, I'm sorry, we're past the public discussion, sir. Alderman Ellis?
Do we need a study?
Yes.
Yeah, we do.
Oh.
But not now. We married into this dispatch 8 months ago.
We haven't even given it a chance. You know, I was part of that debate 8 months ago, and I stated that I was in favor for a independent study. I too felt lied to by WCC when I asked them not just once, not just twice, but 3 times whether or not our people would be taken care of. The first time they said yes. The second time they said yes. And then when the gentleman was standing right there, he said it emphatic. We can't help them right now. They're going to have to come and fill out applications just like everyone else. He lied to me. I did take that personal. And because of that, I chose at that point that I didn't want to go there. We made a commitment. Once we spent $10 million over there in that building to see how it would ride out. I know that we need a study, but I don't think we need it just at this point. I think we need to see exactly how this wave rides out. We have contracts. We have 4-year, 5-year contracts out there that, yeah, you know, if we want to look at those contracts in 2 or 3 years or 4 years and see if we can do anything better, maybe then it's time for us to go to WCC. You know what? Then let's go ahead and take a look at that. My understanding also, when I cast my vote, was that we were not going to visit this a day later. That concerns me. That concerns me an awful lot because that shows a lack of commitment to our system as we have it here in Oconomowoc. We made a decision. We need to stand by that decision. Listen, you guys want to revisit this in 2 or 3 years? I think it would be a good thing to do. But right now, we're looking at 8 months. 8 months. There is a time and a place to do things like this. This is just not the time. We've given it no chance. Now, I can go on and I can go way off a tangent here and talk about the other things in life that we don't give a chance. And let's not even talk about the divorce rate. What I think we need to do at this point in time is we need to just sit back, let this thing play out, and revisit this in 1.5 to 2 years. I can't support right now spending $12,500 more, regardless if it's already in our savings account, as I would call it, for the sole purpose of something that ultimately, right now, I'm going to vote no on. Because we're not giving it a chance. And the problem that exists is that there are individuals that have it, that they want to move to WCC, and they're going to try every avenue possible for that to happen, to bring it back up here. And it has to stop. It has to stop. It has to stop. I have come here as an older person, as a spokesperson for the community. I know that there's hard decisions that have to be made. I know that sometimes the community is going to say one thing, and you know what, guys, I can't go with you on this one because I think this is going to really work well. But I don't think this is the time. Now, Karen has given us a lot of fact, and I'm not gonna, I thank you for that, Karen. Absolutely, you did your homework. But I'm looking at it from another way, and I know some of you just aren't listening to me, and that's fine. But the bottom line here is, this has got to stop. Give it a couple of years, guys. Take a breath. Stop using your own agenda to try and push things forward. And use other ways and use other tactics in which to go ahead and see if you can't get it in front of council. And then try and somehow or another persuade individuals. No, I'm sorry, stop it. Stop it. If this makes me a bad council person, then damn it, I'm the worst council person that there is. There's got to be a time when we just say, stop, let's move forward. We got other projects, we got Olympia out there, we got so many other things. We shouldn't spend our time talking about this crap. Enough is enough. Now, I know somebody's going to say something and they're going to throw out a million reasons why we should do it. Yes, I think we need to have the study, but not right now. What's going to stop us from doing it next year? And what's going to stop us from going to WCC and saying, well, we don't like them, let's bring it back. Oh, wait, we got to spend all that money again, don't we? Enough. I'm done with it. I'm not saying anymore. You can bring in all the studies you want. I'm going to tell you right now, and I'm telling the public right now, I am a resounding hard no. Period.
Alderman Rozak. Audience, if you can please not clap, we'd appreciate it. Thank you.
So again, going back to Matt's position, this decision is not about dispatch, it's about whether we do the study right now. I'm not gonna pound the table or yell at you. We all voted on this in the budget 6 months ago, unanimously. It went in, it was discussed, we said, let's do the study. Now, what there is actually is an agenda the other way, which is now that we need a 2/3 supermajority, now all the stops come out. And that's the agenda. I don't have an agenda. And I think it's actually, it's interesting that an item that is about public safety could be turned against me, who voted for this change and is going to vote for just the study, that I have some type of agenda. That's not true, and that's inaccurate. The agenda is public safety, all public safety, not just police dispatch. But just a couple things about facts real quick, and I don't want to belabor this any longer, but the decision to do the study doesn't mean we break contracts tomorrow. The study may come back, and what's interesting is people are saying they're resounding no without seeing the data, without seeing the study. That's disturbing to me. The study may say that the best thing for public safety in the city is moving to WCC. The study may also say, which is interesting why there's opposition, is that our best for public safety is staying with local dispatch. This study isn't for me. This study could cut either way. The other thing the study may say is, hey, Karen's actually right. WCC might be the best move, but not right now, it's in 4 years. But you should buy in now so that you can save the brick and mortar costs from going to $250 in 5 years to $175 now. We don't know what the study is going to say. All those things are factored into the RFP, and that's what they're going to evaluate for us. And that's not a stupid thing. And that's something we can present to the public. And shoot, we can have a ton of listening sessions on this too, and present whatever that study is. And probably if the study says you stay with local dispatch, this thing is over with, right? Mm-hmm. So this isn't a big deal. People don't vote against things for a few $1,000s on this council. That has been my problem for years. We vote for every single thing that comes in front of this council. And so I don't think it's really a budgetary item, because if it saves us money in the long run, that's a good thing. One other little fact, McWanago Fire moved to WCC. The police stayed in their own dispatch, but fire moved. And the police dispatch vote was pretty close. So there are other communities that continue to move into WCC. We're not alone in the community looking at this. There's other communities that are doing the same thing, the same thought process, doing studies, doing discussions. So this isn't unusual. The other thing, and just really briefly, there's nothing that prevents this council from looking at things again. We just decided in protection and welfare to look back at something we just did 2 years ago on the vicious dog statute. So certainly we can look at things again, and I think this is something we should look at, and we should just get the study done.
Alderman Kavieski.
So I've heard from 2 aldermen that they aren't opposed to the study, they're just opposed to the study now. And there have been financial line items that have been brought up. one of the line items is a $600,000 expenditure for local dispatch every year. So if we delay this study that shows us or shows us that maybe the route is WCC or confirms that local dispatch is the way to stay, 4 years out, that's $2.4 million. That's a big number. That's not a few $100,000. And where we allocate those funds as policy at this body is what our job is, and what things are gonna happen between now and the next 4 years. I'm sure there's gonna be a need for more police officers. I'm sure there's gonna be a need for more equipment. We just started a fundraising effort to do body cams. The city's gonna invest in equipment. The community's gonna invest in body cams. It is about money. It is about the value of lives saved as well, right? I've heard that from constituents. And that's a double-edged sword, because public safety is our police, our fire, our EMS. We have a dual dispatch system right now, and if that study comes back tomorrow and says, you know what, you guys are golden with dual dispatch, it provides for the ultimate public safety dispatch mechanism. Great, discussion over. If it doesn't, our job is to protect those lives in public safety to the best of our ability based on the information we have. And to Alderman Spiegelberg's point, yeah, I was at WCC not once but twice. I was at local dispatch not once but twice. I've done ride-alongs. I've read the articles. I've looked at the information. And the first vote that I cast for dispatch was to remain local until I started to do some of my own looking at information. This is not a personal agenda for me. Again, this is an agenda to keep our community safe. I have 4 kids. I have a wife. You have a family. We just watched the impact that our public safety, both PD and EMS and fire, had on a gentleman that had passed away. It's a joint effort. It's public safety, not PD, not just fire, not just EMS. It's comprehensive. This is a study that'll show, not just this body, but the community, what is in the best interest of that. And if this wouldn't have come in at the dollar amount it came in, and let's say it came in at $19,000, you guys wouldn't be here, because it would have been passed without debate.
Alderman Mulder?
Really?
I want to make sure, Matt, I did read through this again in task 3, and it does, I just want to make sure that there is a date and time analysis here that says, as of January 1st, this would be the net financial impact to the city, as Karen is suggesting, if we have to move away from a number of these contracts, if we breach these contracts, so that we're truly looking at what all those sunk costs are and whether they're going to be impacting us, because that is a big, they are sunk costs, but they also need to be considered. So, but it looks like that's in there. I just want to double down and make sure they include that, because that's a key point for me.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Okay, let's get back to some facts. Our citizens have spoken loud and clear. They don't feel unsafe in this community. They would like to keep dispatch local. I think Chief Pfister and Captain Tim, anyone here, can talk very confidently that we have no major catastrophic breaches of safety in this community. And there are much greater benefits to keeping dispatch local. It really concerns me, so I'll bring this around again, that 4 aldermen did not sit down in dispatch, did not do ride-alongs, to come here with their due diligence and say, I've looked at both sides. I think we need a study or we don't need a study. I think that should have been part of the due diligence. I also think that everyone should have watched the November 2019 meeting. I think there's a time for this study, and I think that's in about 4 years, when our equipment, software may be becoming obsolete, when our contracts are up. If we do a study now and they say, yeah, maybe we're bouncing off to WCC, maybe we're not. We did the study, well, let's wait 3 years maybe and think about implementing it then then we just really wasted the taxpayers' money because the whole landscape of our community will change. Less businesses will have landlines. That will change the dynamic of all of this. If we do a study now, anytime within the next year, if it's not implemented to go to WCC, it will become obsolete. All of the data will become obsolete. So is that the decision we want to make tonight? Just throwing it out there.
Alderman Shellpepper.
Yeah, because we keep harping on the same point. We're not voting on dispatch tonight, so talking about 4 aldermen who didn't go on a ride-along, when we're voting on an RFP, it's irrelevant. So I don't understand why that keeps, harping on that point, but I appreciate you continuing to bring it up. When we actually do vote on whether we want to keep dispatch or not, I think that's the prime and perfect time to participate in all those activities. But doing so for an RFP, for an objective third-party analysis, just don't see the connection. Wanted to make that clear. Thank you.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
And with all due respect, I don't agree on that because we are voting on dispatch. We're saying right now, we want to do some type of independent study because we're not comfortable with the fact that we just put $500,000 of equipment into that building over there. We built infrastructure around it. We have a great system working. Why are we back at the board voting on a study? This is about dispatch. Yes, we need to vote on the study one way or the other, but it is about dispatch.
I'd like to remind everybody, we have a motion on the floor, and we have a second. Any further comments with regard to the police dispatch study? Any further comments? I call Alderman Spiegelberg.
And what is the supermajority that we need because this is a budget amendment?
2/3.
2/3?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
I thought it was 3/4 is supermajority, isn't it? Okay.
It is 2/3.
Any further comments, Mr. Trevitowski? We're good to go? Okay, okay.
You need 6 votes.
I'd like to call roll, please.
5.
Hold on.
It's 5-2.
We're 1 alderman
We're
short,
one
so we
short.
have 7 voting.
Then I'll have to look at the statute.
Then
I do believe it is 2/3 of the entire, but I'll look.
President.
Let's hold off for just a second to get clarification.
Well, let's take a vote and then I'll rule.
Well, frankly, that's probably fair as well. Thank you, all those in the audience, for coming and listening and sharing your viewpoints. I'm sorry that it doesn't go to a dialogue at this part of the meeting, so I do respect that you may have more to say, and really do appreciate you coming today. For all the money we spend on you, don't you have an answer yet? Just kidding, just kidding. You know.
67.
So for the audience, we're double checking because this is a budget amendment, we need a 2/3 supermajority vote to make sure that this passes or fails the request to do the study. And we want to make sure we know the exact number because we normally have 8 council members. 1 is absent today, so we have 7. So that's the question.
Your internet is really bad. I mean, it really is. I can't bring up chapter 65 at all.
Don't have cellular service? Connect from the Wi-Fi?
I can actually go to here, yeah. Oh, wait a minute. Got it.
I'm going to make the assumption that there's no further discussion and we're ready to vote, so that's
You
kind
would
of where
vote,
we
then
are.
I will rule. I'm sorry. I can't get the whole chapter here.
Mine's working. Do you need it?
6505. Well, mine was working. I mean, I just can't get it to load.
So I think what's most important is that we vote for what we believe is the right direction for the city. So Ms. Conan, would you call roll, please?
Alderman Spiegelberg.
All right, hold on.
The resolution as stated is to approve
Right.
and award the,
Thank you. Nay.
to that. Okay.
Alderman Mulder.
Aye.
Alderman Shellpepper.
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski.
Aye.
Alderman Rozak.
Aye.
Alderman Zappel.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Nay.
5-2.
2.
Thanks.
So we're going to move forward and get impact or feedback from our city attorney when he's ready.
I can't move forward on this because I have to say if the motion failed or carried.
Oh, okay. On the software, you mean?
Yep.
Okay.
But he's checking to see what the statute
Option budget changes how made.
So let's just move forward for a description on the next item for utility. If we can have a description for consider act on resolution 21-R2950 authorizing budget amendment for Olympia Water Tower logo painting.
So moved. Lou?
We're not asking for a motion,
All right,
just a
you gonna do
description.
presentation first?
Settle down, Lou. I know you
Come
like
on
the
now.
logo.
We came to you
It's a cool
last
logo.
meeting as it relates to branding the water tower by Olympia with the Oconomowoc logo, of which you all indicated you were in support. So we bring forth before you the budget amendment of $7,500, take from contingency in order to have that project completed jointly with the Tourism Commission.
Any comments or questions for Mr. Duffy?
The only other item is you have an updated resolution on your station, which indicates both the contingency account number and the utility account number the funds will be transferred to.
So moved.
Second.
Please state your name too for the record.
Rozak first.
Ellis, second.
Diane, can you copy that down on paper so we can keep moving?
We'll just keep moving. We can go back on the tape if we have to.
Okay, let's keep moving because I'm not sure how long it'll take. Any further discussion? Call roll, please.
This one, is this a budget amendment?
No, this is a resolution for the water tower
It
painting.
is a budget amendment.
Budget amendment. I just want to make that clear because whatever this
Yes.
vote is, it has to be that majority as well.
Correct, correct.
So. Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Mulder.
Aye.
Alderman Shellpepper.
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski.
Aye.
Alderman Rozak.
Aye.
Alderman Zappel. Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
On to our next item, consider act on resolution 21-R2947, authorizing execution of the DNR Principal Forgiven Financial Assistance Agreement.
Good evening. Previously, City Council passed a resolution giving the utility manager the authority to solicit funds from the Clean Water Act, Wisconsin DNR. That has been accomplished. Now, this next process is to pass the resolution 21-R2947, accepting those funds in the amount of $207,500 to use to give to our residents in changing their lead service lateral replacements. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. If you want to go into more detail, I'd be glad to
Alderman
answer
Rozak.
questions.
Yeah, I was at Utility Commission. This was discussed. This is actually a really great program. I'll give the real brief overview. So people that had their lead laterals already done up from the road to the house, from 2018 to 2020, 36 of those people will get grants of $2,500. And then another 47 people in 2021 can get grants
That's
of
correct.
$2,500.
Yep.
There's also, somebody worked a deal to get some low-interest loans, 1.5% interest from Exonia State Bank. We said kudos to you guys on that. There were some homeowners out here, and they thought it was pretty cool. So all in favor, this was a great program. Thanks, guys.
I do want to add one more thing, that if you go to the utility city website, click on the utility, on there you will see the full description of the process with all of the forms that need to be filled out and exactly the details of everything. So
Alderman Ellis?
I also did my due diligence. That was, after listening in reference to the grant and then the loans. I walked around and kind of just asked some questions to some individuals, and they all seemed as though that was a pretty good deal. So, yeah, I'm definitely for it.
I'd like to entertain a motion.
Rozak
moved,
first.
Zaffel.
Oh, second Rozak.
One more time, I didn't hear, so.
I've got it, Zaffel, motion, Rozak, second.
Cool.
Got it.
I should just let you do your job. Thanks. Any further discussion? Call roll, please.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Mulder.
Aye.
Alderman Shell Pepper.
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski.
Aye.
Alderman Rozak.
Aye.
Alderman Zaffel.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Before you speak, I got to get back to this item.
Okay. And so Attorney Riffle, do we have a determination on the 5-2 vote?
Yes, under the, under section 6590
Okay.
of the Wisconsin.
I lost it all because I left the screen, so now I have to go back and put it all in. Okay? That's what I was afraid would happen. So give me a second. No. Okay, now you can talk. Thank you.
Attorney
fails.
Riffle, motion fails with the 5-2 vote?
Yes.
Okay.
Majority of the entire council. I mean, 2/3 of the entire council.
Not 2/3 of those present?
2/3 of the entire council.
What's the statute again?
65.90.
What about our ordinance? What does our ordinance say
Doesn't
about it?
matter.
Alderman Kavieski, you had a hand up?
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Let's move on to item 3, consider act on resolution 21-R2946, awarding the 2021 digester system improvement project contract and additional expenses. Mr. Freeber.
The wastewater treatment plant advertised for bids for the digester project. That project's work includes upgrading the existing digester system at the wastewater treatment plant, including replacement of the primary digester cover, installation of the new mixing system, and components that also are part of the boiler and heat exchanger. This work was advertised and bids were opened. We received 3 bids, with Staub Construction being the low bid of $2,337,000. Staff recommends Staub's Construction Corporation bid in the amount of $2,337,000. And we'd also recommend the way we're doing our procurement policy, we're requesting 10% contingency in the amount of $233,700 for a total price of $2,570,700.
Any questions for Mr. Freeber? Like to entertain a motion, please?
So moved.
Yep, second,
Mulder.
Shell Pepper.
Any further discussion? Call roll, please.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Mulder.
Aye.
Alderman Shell Pepper.
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski.
Aye.
Alderman Rozak.
Aye.
Alderman Zaffel.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
On to our next item, consider act on joining the National Rural Water lawsuit regarding PFAS and authorized signature of the retainer agreement.
Yes, Mayor and Alderman, just an update on that. We did have some questions that came out of the utility committee that we still needed to get answered that we thought we would have at this point in time. So we are going to move this item to the next meeting until we get those answers.
Any objection? None. Move on to the next agenda item. Under new business, consider act on resolution 21-R2951, authorizing completion of the Emerald City Mural Oz Plaza enhancement. Mr. Duffy.
As part of continuing appropriations, we had this as a project. I've been fundraising for the project based on your current procurement policy. Anything over $25,000 needs to be approved by the council. I've raised $34,000 already. We want to get your endorsement to continue to move this project forward in an effort so that the artists can start and have completed by the Festival of the Arts this year.
Any questions for Mr. Duffy? Alderman Shell Pepper.
It says the project would be a public-private partnership to share costs. I thought that the costs were going to be assumed all through private fundraising and donations.
The council approved through continuing appropriation dollars as part of the, February, we approved continuing appropriations. So unless you're, so if you're confusing the plaza project, which
Yeah,
was
maybe I am.
separate from this.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So this
Yeah.
was a project that was already proposed last year.
Okay,
We were unable to do it because of COVID.
yeah,
So we asked if you would consider continuing appropriations from last year's budget to continue this effort,
okay.
tourism and city dollars to be able to do that. I didn't fundraise it then because Festival of the Arts wasn't happening, and not a lot was happening. And now we've fundraised those dollars, but because it's a contract to the city, I have to come to you to be able to get that in accordance with our procurement policy.
Thank you for the
It's just the
clarification.
mural. It's just,
Got
It's
it.
just the
Thank
mural.
you.
Correct.
Alderman Kavieski?
I appreciate the effort in getting the funds and continuing to work on these improvements. I'm in full favor of moving this forward and seeing this as part of the festivities in August.
Alderman Spiegelberg?
Thank you. Good question by Alderman Shellpepper. I appreciate that, to set that apart and distinguish that. Question for you, Bob. The individual that is in that building right now has been in some conversations with you on potentially doing some tuck pointing on the side
Correct.
of the building. What was the resolution on that? Because that seemed to be a lot of expense for him to incur at this
What we're
point.
going to, what we would do with other building owners, and kind of, because this is an initiative and we're moving forward, we've offered to allow them to be qualified for our facade grant program to cover half those costs.
Like to Alderman Spiegelberg, go ahead.
And the facade grant, at what price point? I mean, is that like one of the 5,000 ones? Because I think this tuck
Yes,
pointing
so
would,
he would,
that
it's
would
my
cost him more than
understanding
this.
his side of his building is anywhere from $8,000 to $9,000. So we've indicated would cover half of that through the facade.
Okay, excellent, thank you.
I'd like to entertain a motion.
So moved. Kavieski?
Do we have a second?
Second Spiegelberg?
Call roll, please.
Alderman Spiegelberg,
Aye.
Alderman Mulder,
Aye.
Alderman Shellpepper,
Nay.
Alderman Kavieski,
Aye.
Alderman Rozak,
Aye.
Alderman Zaffel,
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
And to consider act on Resolution 21-R2945, approving the appointment of the official newspaper for the 2021 to 2022 season. I believe you have all that information in front of you. I'd like to entertain a motion.
So move Zaffel.
Second Spiegelberg?
Any further discussion? Call roll, please.
Alderman Spiegelberg,
Aye.
Alderman Mulder,
Aye.
Alderman Shellpepper,
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski,
Aye.
Alderman Rozak,
Aye.
Alderman Zaffel,
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Thank you. On to reports and comments from aldermen. Any of the council member have comments that they want to share with their constituents or among each other? Alderman Kavieski.
Yes, so there is a flyer. Are you cool if I?
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it. Good stuff.
So over the last several months, there's been a lot of time and effort put into the upcoming SOFA Jump for Archie, which is May 15th. Last year's event was unfortunately canceled along with so many others. This year's event includes a 988 5K. 988 is the new national 3-digit hotline being rolled out for suicide prevention, along with the Jump for Archie and a community benefit concert that will feature Jackson Snelling, who was here last year in September as part of the Suicide Prevention Week activities, and Jen Bostic, who is a 4-time International Country Music Award winner with a #1 in the UK. This day and this series of events is made possible by several donors and contributors within our community, including Rogers Behavioral Health and the Oconomowoc Area Foundation, Bank 59, Waukesha County and many others. The day is designed to allow for the community to find what kind of intrigues them most to engage in, whether it be the walk, run, the jump, the concert, the resource tables, or any or all of it. So I'd highly encourage you to participate in the day. It is a day of community building and hope, and it'll be a very special day, not only here, but around the country, because it does really affect people from coast to coast. And a couple of years ago, as far as away as Europe and Australia. So please make time to go out and enjoy.
Thank you. Other comments from Aldermen? Any further? Okay, on to reports and comments from the mayor. First, we'd like to share a Silver Streak 30th anniversary proclamation with the community. Whereas the Oconomowoc Silver Streak Incorporated, founded in 1991, is celebrating its 30th anniversary in May of 2021, and whose board of directors have been and is comprised of 100% volunteers from business, healthcare, community advocates, and whereas the Oconomowoc Silver Streak exists solely on the community support through grants, volunteer services, and donations from businesses, organizations, local governments, foundations, and individuals. And whereas the Oconomowoc Silver Streak services as a qualified 501c3 nonprofit charitable organizations whose donations are tax deductible to the extent allowed by law. And whereas its mission is to provide reliable and affordable transportation to ambulatory citizens 60 years and older and ambulatory disabled people throughout Oconomowoc. And whereas the Oconomowoc Silver Streak operates Monday through Friday between 8:30 and 4:30 in the morning and 4:30 p.m. within the Oconomowoc city limits. And whereas the Oconomowoc Silver Streak transports over 10,000 riders annually to grocery stores, medical appointments, therapy sessions, dialysis, chemo treatments, pharmacies, hair shops, and many other activities. And whereas this service stimulates independence, a better quality of life and well-being, and lessens the feeling of loneliness, social isolation, and depressions for its riders. And whereas the Oconomowoc Silver Streak is a lifeline for our community seniors and disabled residents experiencing transportation challenges, since Oconomowoc has no bus or taxi service, unlike some other communities. Now, therefore, I, Robert P. Magnus, Mayor of the City of Oconomowoc, do hereby proclaim the month of May to be Oconomowoc Silver Streak Month. And really quite an incredible organization that provides a lot. They're also looking for more drivers, so if anybody has an interest, I would suggest that you reach out. Last comments I have for council today. I had kind of a little prepared statement that I forgot to bring. And I just wanted to, which is a good thing because it'll be a little shorter. I want to thank the entire Common Council. I want to thank all of our staff, because we look at these last 12 months from the last election to where we are today, we've actually accomplished an awful lot. Oftentimes we look back and we think about what we've done, but we spend more of the time working on what we haven't accomplished. That's part of who we are, but there's also a time that we need to sit down and really look back and appreciate what we've done so far. Think about what's happened with Olympia. Think about what's happened. You have a new skate park coming in. You have a new legacy park coming in. You've worked really hard to be fiscally responsible. You know, we haven't increased our operating budget. We've worked really hard on that. We brought in a new police chief. We had to hire a new city administrator. We've done a lot of really incredible things. And what I've enjoyed is watching the whole council start to work better together, have dynamic discussions like we had today, where it doesn't become personal. You're doing what you think is best for the city. And at the end of the day, that's really why we're all here, right? We're here for the city. We're definitely not doing it for the money. We're doing it because we love our community and we want to give back. But it takes an engaged council, it takes an engaged staff to make it work. And I have just earned a tremendous respect for each and every one of you, because when you don't work with engaged people, it's absolutely no fun. Engaged people sometimes make it a little bit more challenging, and that's okay. But we can get a lot more done together. And I think the big word I'd like to just say is the word we, because it's really about how we all work and do different things. And we're seeing that now. We have multiple aldermen taking leads on different projects, doing some oversight work, whether it's with ordinances, whether it's with new agendas. And that's really fun to see. That's why we're here. So the reason for the comment isn't for the cameras, isn't for the newspaper. Sorry, Alex. It's for me saying thank you to all of you, because this job is challenging in different ways, but it's really a lot of fun because we have a lot of great people. And at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. And so on behalf of myself, but mostly from the city of Oconomowoc, thank everyone here in the room, and thank those that have put so much into making this community great. So with that, I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
Pavieski, so moved.